So I kind of wanted to get into this, but I don't know if I'm gonna. We're already late, so I don't want to like draw down the tempo of the stream if we get into this. What's called Carmelo Anthony situation. If you don't know, basically, there's a young black boy who killed a young white boy. I believe at like a track meet or something like that. He killed him. I believe he stabbed him, and the kid died. He was since released on bond, but there's been really a polarizing reaction to this, not only because it's black and white, it's people are talking about things like bullying, and also there's a lot of public support for the person who did the killing, right? Some people feel like, black people are just supporting him because, not necessarily for this situation, because of other situations that black people get the short end of the stick. Some people feel like, yo, you can't blame a kid. When bullying goes too far, a nigga might snap and kill a nigga. And some people feel like there's just more to the story. I don't know the full thing. And I kind of want to get into it. I haven't really invested in that particular story overall yet. And why not? It's a late night stream. We could probably get into it, right? Let me see if I can find it. I had it on standby. Let me see. There was supposedly a little documentary that kind of broke it down. So we'll kind of go through that. I'm going to try to also, maybe not tonight, I'm going to pull some documents on as much as I can through the court system and see what the current status is. And I don't know if there's any videos. Hold on. Is it this? No. Is it this? I think it is. Okay, I'll just Google it. I thought it was Carmelo Anthony with a K. Okay. Where the heck is the story? Does anyone have a good video that I could watch? I want something that kind of sums up the whole thing. I know the mother spoke. Let me tell you this. With all due respect, anytime you see these niggas start talking, all they do is like they incite race wars. And here's the thing. I want to analyze this, but I also want to take, I don't know if it's possible. I'm hoping this is not just a clear race situation. But anytime you see Roland Martin and them niggas check into a topic, all they do is put black people against white people and line their pockets. Like, that's it. Like, they have no type of, like, obligation to just being objective to, like, facts if it was a raceless situation. All they do is just race bait. And I think that's sad. All right, let me see. So somebody say it's a race war again? Oh, man. Damn, can I get a fucking good video on this? Where the documentary niggas? Tragic story. I thought I had it in my email. Let me see. I didn't have it in my email. I thought I had it in my email. Hold on. Oh, I do have it here. Great. Okay. Actually, this video don't tell me shit either. Nah, damn. All right, we might have to piece this together ourselves. The thing is, I'm just kind of behind on this entire story. All right, let's get
An emotional farewell in Frisco. Good evening, everybody. I'm Casey Stiegel. Private funeral services were held today for the teen student athlete.
Oh, I'll just go to Law and Crimes. They probably have a good one. Okay, I'll go to Law and Crimes because
they're gonna probably be arrested.
So we want to get the initial story, right? The initial story, and then we'll go from there. When did this happen? Track meet. Why do they just call them track meet subs? Y'all could tell this about to be some racial shit. Bro, everybody knows the guy's name by now. Because at first I was just like, Carmelo Anthony, the basketball player? Like, holy. Yo, I thought this nigga was a shooter. Now he's stabbing people? No joke. You know what I mean? I was just... Carmelo. Track meet.
The high school athlete accused of stabbing and killing another high school athlete at a track meet in Texas is now out on bond. This is video of Carmelo Anthony leaving the county jail per WFAA in Dallas. A judge lowered his bond by a major amount this week. And a fundraising site has raised more than $416,000 for his legal defense, even after he allegedly told police he did it, leaving a brother to die in his twin's arms after he was allegedly stabbed in the heart. We're on the case, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Cases like the one that we're talking about right now get lives of their own when people use them to talk about issues like self-defense and race in America. That is exactly what's happening in the case of Carmelo Anthony, a high school sports star, now an accused murderer. A judge lowered Anthony's bond from $1 million down to $250,000 this week. This is the new video per WFAA in Dallas of Anthony walking free. He will have to wear a GPS monitor, be on house arrest, check in with the court each week, and if he doesn't do that, he'll go back into custody. We have the probable cause documents from police that lay out what officers say happened when they responded to a high school track meet in the middle of the day on April 2nd for the report of a stabbing. One officer writes that when he first made contact with Anthony and told him to put his hands in the air, Anthony allegedly said, "I was protecting myself." The officer said that Anthony then told him, quote, "He put his hands on me." And when the officer said he had the alleged suspect in custody, Anthony allegedly said, quote, "I'm not alleged, I did it." Several witnesses also came forward to tell police what they saw, and we'll dive into their accounts in just a moment. But I want to first talk about the victim in this case. His name is Austin Metcalf. Metcalf was there to compete in this track meet as well. He was a high school football star in his own right. He was a junior at Frisco's Memorial High School.
Now, chat, you know, at least the angle I'm taking while I'm trying to do some information gathering before I could give you guys an opinion on what I think, whatever. Here's some red flags, chat. Here's some red flags. I believe they're using, I don't know if it's a mug shot of the kid, which is the Carmelo Anthony kid. When they're finding pictures of the nigga who died, they got him just looking as innocent as a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, yo, this guy was the nicest guy on earth. You know what I mean? Now, granted, I'm not making any assertions yet. I'm in a collecting, fact-finding phase. However, this is media tactics. Let's give this nigga looking like he's a demon and this nigga looking like an angel, and you're going to make up your mind kind of subliminally.
School football star in his own right. He was a junior at Frisco's Memorial High School. He was team MVP of the football season last year, and his dad says he had a 4.0 GPA in the classroom, and he was planning on playing college football. And when you look at his social media, you could see he was serious about it. Austin posted multiple pics from recruiting trips to places like the University of Arkansas. That is a big-time Division I school. The suspect, Carmelo Anthony, he was captain of his high school's football team. That was Frisco's Centennial High School, which is just about a 14-minute drive away from where Metcalf went to school. These two schools separated by roughly 7 miles.
Carmelo Anthony, class of 2025, Centennial High School, Frisco, Texas.
This is video of Anthony mic'd up at a tournament that he linked to on his X account. On social media, Anthony shows that he was getting offers to play college football. Here are the posts from 2 Division III schools that apparently wanted him on their team. On Anthony's Huddle profile page, which is a social media platform for football players, Anthony made his bio, quote, "God has shown you the right path, just take it." Anthony's path on April 2nd led him to a confrontation with Austin Metcalf that could put him in jail for the rest of his life. So here's what we know based off what police say happened. Multiple schools were competing in this track meet that had to be delayed because of weather. If you've ever run track, typically all the schools involved have their spots around the track where they hang out between events, and in this case, where they were waiting out some weather. Austin's team apparently had a tent, and Anthony went under that tent, and somehow words were exchanged, and Anthony was told to leave. In the probable cause document, witnesses say Anthony reaches into his bag and says, quote, "Touch me and see what happens." Austin then touches Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony then, according to witnesses, says, "Punch me and see what happens." Austin then grabbed Anthony again, and that is when a witness says Anthony takes a knife out and stabs Austin Metcalf in the chest. Austin then grabs his chest and calls for help. He would die in his twin brother's arms near the track. This is a law.
His twin ain't slide immediately?
Crime legal alert. Did you know that children under the process law firm's accounts had called WFAA TV in the hours after all of this played out?
He's like, "Make me move." Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest.
Austin seemed to be very close with his family. Here's a picture of his brother with their dad. Now, as far as Anthony, police say he ditched the knife and ran before he was arrested by officers who note in their reports that Anthony was hysterically crying when arrested and asked if Metcalf would be okay. Anthony seemed to believe what happened was self-defense. Police, though, have not seen it that way. Here's the probable cause affidavit. You can see Anthony is facing a charge of murder. And initially, he was held on $1 million bond. And that gets us to the update that we are following this week after a hearing about that bond. At a court hearing, Anthony, his attorneys, their family argued that the bond was just too high, that it was unfair to be that high, that Anthony had to remain behind bars ahead of his trial, which could be months from now. A judge decided to lower Anthony's bond from $1 million to $250,000. Cameras weren't allowed in the courtroom, but this is what we're hearing about what happened. Anthony's parents testified and argued that their son is a straight-A student, that he's never been in trouble before, and he's the oldest of 4 children. He also worked 2 jobs, including currently as a cashier at a grocery store, and on top of that, he was captain of his high school's football team. According to CBS News, Anthony's attorney wanted bond lowered from $1 million to $150,000. Prosecutors didn't call witnesses at this hearing, but they said bond should stay the same because they argue that's typically where bond is set for murder cases in Collin County, Texas. Since Austin Metcalf's death, the Anthony family has been able to raise quite a bit of money for Karmelo Anthony's legal defense. This is the fundraising page on the site Give, Send, Go. It's similar to a GoFundMe, and at this point, you can see it's raised more than $416,000. This page was started by the Anthony family, and it reads, quote, "The narrative being spread is false, unjust, and harmful. As a family of faith, we are deeply grateful for all of your support during this trying period. Your prayers and assistance mean more to us now more than ever." Comments on the side of the page show people giving money and
Okay. I'll skip past this for a little bit. So let me ask y'all a question. Because I heard bullying. Now, is it a possibility that this kid was he was being bullied by this other kid and he finally had enough and snapped? Because there's a few questions. Why do you have a knife in your bag? How long has this behavior been happening? Now, none of that actually really justifies him murdering the dude. But also, if we're talking about murder and what charge would be applicable, I think it's also worth noting to consider. It seems like there was also, if the reports are correct, he was trying to bait that nigga too. All right, nigga, just hit me. It's like, imagine if I have a gun and I'm telling someone, just do something, or I'm telling them to do a specific action, that I could use the gun. Right? That becomes a real tricky type of situation.
In many ways, the go-to site for defendants who find...
I see some people saying it. That could be consideration for premeditated murder. Now, I still think premeditated murder is a hard sell, because the mere fact that even afterwards he said, did he die? Is he okay? I don't think he intended to kill him, but his actions definitely killed him. So premeditated murder, the intent would be to kill him. I don't know if that was the intent, but if you're asking someone to do things that you could do another thing, it is premeditated. I just don't know if it's premeditated murder.
And themselves.
But is there? I don't think there's such a thing as premeditated. You can't say assault. This person died. Was it manslaughter? Yeah. See, manslaughter wouldn't be premeditated, right? I don't know. I guess it would be murder. I got to see the statutes on that.
In interesting legal situations. It's the same site where people have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the legal defense of Luigi Mangione, the man who's accused of killing United Health, because GoFundMe does. In the past, it's been a site that's become a go-to place for people raising money for. Anthony's father was reportedly asked during this hearing why the Anthonys haven't used the hundreds of thousands of dollars already raised to bail their son out of jail. It might be $1 million bond, but in some cases you can get a bail bondsman to cover most of it, and you just have to put forward 10%. He said to that question, the site isn't a bond fund. Metcalf's family also has a fundraising site, but the money for that was used in part to lay their son to rest. Right now, that page has more than $341,000. Metcalf was laid to rest last week at a church in Frisco. The Metcalfs are encouraging people to donate money to create a scholarship on their son's behalf. Anthony's bail was lowered to $250,000, and we'll talk about why the judge did that in just a moment, and why at least one defense attorney believes that was a fair decision. The court said that Anthony would have to be on house arrest, wear that electronic monitoring device, and will check in with the court each week on Fridays. According to WFAA, the judge said in the courtroom where every seat was filled that deputies provided more security than she had ever seen for a case, which is just an example of the attention that this story is receiving in Texas and beyond. Joining us now once again to talk about this case is criminal defense attorney Bridget.
Okay.
It is more clear in how the law says it, as opposed to where if Karmelo Anthony goes into court and makes the argument, maybe Austin Metcalf was bigger than I was afraid for my life in that moment, and I was just trying to defend myself. If it's an equal force law, that doesn't seem like it could line up particularly well as a defense.
Well, that's why the defense moves forward generally with the trial setting, right? So they can bring all of those facts out in trial and give that explanation to a jury.
Okay.
In the wake of this tragic incident, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Karmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about.
The family of a star athlete turned murder suspect accused of killing a fellow athlete at a track meet now is speaking out in this news conference, saying they've become the victim of threats. This video per KDFW. And at that news conference, a shocking moment. The victim's father, there in person, he was escorted out by police. The suspect in this case is no longer in custody. He's out on bond after a decision that some have called controversial by the judge to lower it by $750,000. It's a move that's now made that judge the target of internet hate, raising security concerns. And we'll also talk about the suspect's family and what they said about accusations they've used money from a crowdfunding website to boost their lifestyle, including the accusation they moved into a $900,000 home. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. We have a lot to update you on in a case that we've been following out of Texas, in the Dallas area, in the death of Austin Metcalf, a high school athlete who was allegedly murdered by another athlete whose name is Karmelo Anthony. Let's talk about Metcalf first. He was a star athlete in football, but also in track, which is why he was at the track meet on April 2nd. He was MVP of his high school's football team. He was also an A student. He died after being stabbed at that track meet in Frisco, Texas on April 2nd. Now, the suspect in this case was a fellow athlete at this track meet, competing for another high school. His name's Karmelo Anthony. He's charged with murder. This is video of him leaving jail this week after he posted bond. This video from WFAA TV. Now, the reason that Karmelo was able to post bond was it was significantly lowered after a court appearance this week. Judge Angela Tucker lowered it from $1 million to $250,000. Tucker did not allow cameras in the courtroom, but according to KDFW TV, Anthony's attorney said $1 million bond was too high and it wasn't necessary to keep Anthony from fleeing the charges. The attorney also argued, quote, "This family needs to be able to survive." Prosecutors argued that bond should be kept at $1 million because they say that is the standard bond amount for murder cases.
All right, I'll start giving some opinions as we're kind of getting some more information. We haven't gotten to this racial element yet, so I guess I'm going to have to hit the pundits for their interpretation of why it's racial. From all I know, this is an incident between two kids. There's definitely more to the story, but one kid seemed like he may have been provoked, right? And not necessarily provoked to commit murder, but the provocation led to him murdering the next person. Now, once we throw in the fact black and white, one looks like they come from maybe a more affluent family, or at least a family where, you know, when they show people like background and stuff, the only good picture they could show of this kid, or not good picture, not saying they don't have good pictures, they only show the picture of him like looking like he's at some type of, you know, workout training camp thing. And then when they're showing the other dude, he looks super younger, standing with his dad. You see dad and mom. It's a complete family. It just looks like the perfect, like what they say the perfect family is. You know what I mean? Mom and dad in the house. Y'all living in some suburbs. So that does kind of, you know, probably add on to why people feel there is a racial element there, because usually people, they'll demonize you based on how the picture the media uses, whatever the case is. So we'll actually get to that. But the bond situation, I don't disagree with the bond being reduced, and I don't think it's for any racial reasons. I'll tell you why I don't disagree with it being reduced. I think there's a reasonable argument, not saying it'll work, but there's a reasonable argument that the defense could have that, hey, this isn't a standard murder case. This is a case where we're telling you now we're going in for self-defense. You get what I'm saying? And based off of just the little information we know, based off what he said, even though, by the way, him running away from the crime scene, that wasn't a good thing. But he admitted that he did it. He was asking about the dude. He basically was kind of almost saying self-defense shit as soon as he got caught. Let that be proven in court, but you could reduce it from, you could reduce the bail a little bit. If $1 million is a standard for all murder cases, I'm thinking of that being, yo, you just walked up on someone and shot him. Okay, $1 million. But if there is a reasonable inference could be made that this shit could be self-defense, lower it a bit. Still to a significant amount, because $250,000 is still a significant amount. But I have no problem with them lowering it, okay? Obviously, that's going to cause a rift, because now people are going to be looking at it like this. It's a black judge, black defendant, white family. Then we're seeing people have uproar. By the way, I'm going to get to, I seen Aiden Ross like donated money. It looked like people really give a fuck about this shit. Okay.
Cases in Collin County, Texas. In the wake of the decision, the backlash against Judge Tucker has been fierce. You can see her account on X is now private. Collin County, Texas also put this out on social media saying, quote, "We are aware of a social media post on this platform that appears to dox a sitting judge. Sharing a judge's private information is a crime and will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." Tucker is a Republican, and she's the first black judge in Collin County, which is near Dallas. She reportedly said in court during Anthony's most recent bond hearing that the security surrounding this case is already the most.
We already went through this.
Right.
Okay, so let's get to this press conference.
Family. The fundraiser has been established to provide comprehensive assistance to the Anthony family as they navigate the many challenges surrounding Karmelo's case. Prosecutors asked Anthony's father during the bond hearing why the family wasn't using the money to get Karmelo out of jail when his bond was at $1 million. To which the father reportedly replied that the site was not a quote bond
we got
fund.
through this already. Let's get to this.
A single dime.
Another very notable moment at this news conference happened before it began, and it was Austin Metcalf's dad appearing in person in sunglasses,
Let me watch the press conference real quick. I haven't seen this in full. Damn, everybody has commentary on this, huh? I just want to get to the mom.
You're a journalist, you're a weather journalist, how the weather was that day and that time.
Like so many other families, we wanted to give our children the future we did not have. My husband works hard every single day to provide for us, to make sure we're in the best financial position possible. As a stay-at-home mom, I made it my life's mission to ensure our children are loved, nurtured, and supported every step of the way. In wake of this tragic incident, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Karmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about. The lies and false accusations that have been said about us, especially over the past week, has been overwhelming. The lies and their amplification put my family in danger, as well as everyone in our community, everyone involved in the investigation, from the police, the attorneys, and the court staff. Our address and my husband's previous employer's address has been put on all social media platforms. My husband had to take a leave of absence because he's afraid what may happen to our family.
By the way, these are reasonable things, I think. Yeah, this is a big story. I imagine a lot of doxings happening. Yeah, I would imagine it is move around time. I hear people are concerned that the dude is now living, not concerned, but they're like, yo, he's living in a mansion now. And he's clearly using that money to, I'm not looking at it like that. All right. I don't know if she says anything more important, but apparently this is some more details right here. This is a witness. Deal Hughley posted this.
Everyone in Texas is all about stand your ground and self-defense until that person doesn't look like me. This case is racially charged, and stick with me here. If the roles were reversed, if Karmelo Anthony was 220 pounds with his twin brother, picking on a white kid, putting hands on a white kid, and he got unalived, y'all would say that he got exactly what was coming to him, and if he would have kept his hands to himself, he would still be here today. Because y'all want to say, oh, it's not self-defense. Austin and his brother are 220-pound football players, and Karmelo was 130 pounds. If you can't visualize that, I'm 180.
Really? Okay. That's really good info. 220, 130, that's definitely a thing.
I got 50 pounds on the kid. Not only were they both in his face, but one of them put hands on him. He was scared. You can't tell me that race isn't a thing because it's in my TikTok comments and I've seen hundreds of comments on Facebook. So if you flip this scenario and Karmelo Anthony was the aggressor in this situation and your opinion changed, you are racially biased. And to the white people in my comments calling me a white savior, God forbid I have empathy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking at this as a race thing, even though I think the racial element is more how the media would portray it. I'm just looking at it from a court sense. If somebody pushes you, could you shoot them? Could you stab them? I mean, this idea of stand your ground or self-defense is, at what point do you fear for your life? Now, I think the witnesses, and I don't know if this was a witness. I don't know if she's a witness or just someone who probably has a difference of opinion about the situation compared to most people that probably share her skin color. I think it might just be a tough sell to say this is self-defense and stand your ground. Unless maybe the way the white boy did whatever he did to him, it was a hard punch, pushed him to the ground. They surrounded him. But even then, it's going to not help their case when they bring to the judge and the jury, yo, we asked him to leave, and he told us, nah, nigga, if you want me to leave, you better put hands on me. All right, move, nigga. All right, yo, if you want me to leave, you got to punch me now. The dude punches him, then he stabs him. If that's the story, that's going to be a little bit tricky. It's going to be a little bit tricky if that's it, right? Okay. This is the funeral. There's a recap of the funeral. Jesus Christ, there's so much info about this damn story. All right. We're going to our pundit over here, Charleston White. He got some thoughts on this shit. Here we go.
This was not a racial killing. So why are the adults coming in playing the race game? The worst thing y'all could do is play the race game in this redneck county, nigga. That black judge, they already working to get her out of there. She will not be a judge in Collin County anymore. And if you from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you know them people don't play out there, nigga. They from out of town. These are outsiders. They will make an example out of that black kid. And black people will get him hung playing the race card. How dumb can you be? This is the time we supposed to say, let's come together. Why can't we all get along? This is that time so we can have his life.
Is Charleston driving? I know he already got one eye and he's looking at the camera and his hands, he's on some hands-free shit. Or is it, because I think his camera is flipped, so it looks like he's in a passenger seat, but I think this might be the driver's seat.
They gonna hang that boy. He deserved to go to prison. If you take a life, you
Oh, never mind. He's not driving because I see a car on this side. He's in I was about to say.
Ain't supposed to be able to walk away with no consequences. It's consequences to your actions, right or wrong. Even if you justified to take a life, your life wasn't in danger.
Now, here's the thing. Along with this whole race thing, I think it's like the OJ situation. Once it becomes a race thing, it's not necessarily about the crime. It's usually like it's like basketball. Yo, we might need this as a makeup call for a lot of fuck shit y'all do. And that's the unfortunate thing, because for the family of the deceased, the bigger story now becomes, how are black people seen when they're standing your ground versus someone that is white or non-black, how they're seen when they're standing their ground. And it's not about the individual facts of that particular case. It's basically, yo, white versus black. And I think for the victim's family, that might suck. Now, I do think it's helping Karmelo, because this is the only time I think we would rally behind a murderer. Like, for example, and there's a little bit of this with the Luigi Mangione thing. There are niggas who really don't believe he did it. And really, they know he did it. It's like, they're just saying, man, that nigga is a real nigga, man. Like, healthcare companies been fucking with us. They've been eating good. I'm glad somebody did something. So they're hoping that he gets found innocent. And they're also believing in these conspiracy theories that, nah, he couldn't have been alone. And how do we really know it was him? Yo, he planned this so good. Like, I was arguing with my brother about this. My brother, one of them people, like, we were at Thanksgiving dinner or whatever. We argued over this shit. He's like, why would he do all the smart shit to get caught at McDonald's? And I'm like, bro, do you really think that this guy is like some fucking genius? Like, no, he's just a murderer. It's okay. Like, he could have murdered for a cause that you maybe, not that you're down with the idea of murder, but you understand why people are mad at healthcare companies. But are we over here litigating because you're mad at healthcare companies, or we're saying, did you murder the guy? And that's what I'm saying about this. Are we talking about stand your ground? Because I love these conversations about stand your ground, right? Like I me being someone who, you catch me in pretty much every state but New York and California, I'm gonna have a licensed weapon on my hip. You get what I'm saying? And I make it my business, depending where I'm at, to know these laws. If it ever, God forbid, gets to a case where you have to use it, right? Like, for example, in many places, if you get punched, somebody just socks you in the mouth, you can't just shoot somebody. It just doesn't work like that, right? And so these ideas and conversations about self-defense and stand your ground, I get it, and I love those, but I think it's going to get overshadowed by just straight black and white, bro. Just straight black and white. You get what I'm saying? Now I see, I got to find some of the clips of people talking about. They're talking about bullying. They're talking about these other things. Anyway.
Karmelo was wrong, dead wrong. In the witness accounts of what he said, he grabbed the book bag. Let me tell black people how dumb y'all is. Don't you know they got a police report with the evidence of a knife and not a cleat sharpener? There's no such thing as a cleat sharpener. They have evidence, a police report where they confiscated a knife. How dumb can y'all be? And black people, y'all don't have no compassion for a parent who have to bury their child. Y'all haven't extended no level of empathy for another dead kid. Black people, I hate that this kid will be sacrificed, but he's not from here, so I don't give a fuck about it. Fuck him. His daddy is a weak nigga to me. Nigga, y'all out here in this $900,000 house renting. These people say y'all got 4 or 5 registered failed businesses, and man, they...
Now, I don't agree with Charleston with that. I think your racial bias comes out if you talk about anything but the incident. I don't care if he's living in a $20 million house right now. I don't care. You know, again, obviously there should be some oversight with how the money that is given for his legal defense, how it's used, but that won't taint how I look at his character. His character will only be dictated on what did you do at that time? Does it stand up to the legal definition of stand your ground or self-defense, or is it murder? That's it. Anything else, people are interjecting their personal or their racial bias. Like Charleston White, love him, but him saying they have failed businesses, what that got to do with anything? It seems like you're saying that to say, yo, this kid and his family, they're usually trying to get over with something. They're not good people. They're finessers. Which kind of shows a tint of course this nigga did it. Of course he's guilty. See, I don't like that. Let's only talk about the incident, if you ask me.
They finna make a mockery out of y'all. But your daddy, nigga, the daddy ain't got nothing to say and his boy dead. You let your bitch do, nigga, you weak, nigga. That's why the boy weak. You weak, that's why the boy weak. And the mama weak, cause nigga, she doing all this goddamn talking, but he left out of your house with a knife. With a knife. Stay at home, mom.
See, that doesn't matter too. This whole stay at home. See, that's, again, but that is a point. I do believe, y'all heard me say before, spare the rod, spoil the child. I believe that when you have a child, I'm always flabbergasted when I hear that children are committing murders and robberies and are allowed to run the streets. I think a parent don't have a child if you can't fully supervise a child. You should be held accountable for, you know, like, for example, if I had a child and I have 50 guns here and my child just grab a gun because I'll keep one, blah, 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 and he grabs it and said, man, I'm about to go kill this nigga who talking to my bitch. And they do it, they're probably coming to charge me too, because not only was I negligent as a gun owner, I think doubly, like, you're negligent as a parent. So I do believe that if your kid is bringing a knife to school, As the mother and father, it's your fault. Absolutely. Now, stay-at-home mom, we don't care about that shit. We're only talking about the relevant details. If a child is carrying a knife, a gun, or any weapon, that is partially the fault of the parent. Because here's the thing, you also got to teach your kid, if they do have an issue, they should come to mommy and daddy. If they do have an issue, they should resolve it with during these means, not taking a butcher knife or whatever knife to school. That is on the parents.
And nobody cares about your daughter can't sleep because y'all getting death threats. Your son killed somebody.
Somebody said, well, I keep hearing cleat sharpener. Let me Google what that is. Cleat sharpening tool. It said it was a knife. It said cleat sharpener is just another round file. It said it would be difficult to stab someone with one. What the fuck? Okay, so it was a knife.
That boy brother can't sleep from holding his brother dying. You think people, y'all are not the victims. Karmelo Anthony, you and your renting family, y'all are not homeowners in a town full of homeowners. Y'all are renters. You're not even from here. And you done brought people that's not from here to cause trouble and try to divide us from our good blacks. You're gonna pay, Anthony family. They're gonna.
Damn, that's the Uncle Ruckus in him right there.
They're gonna hang. Your boy's gonna suffer. See, right now, y'all don't know. The dad's a convicted felon. They're gonna, man, this kid is.
That got nothing to do with it. See, this part of it, I feel like Charleston is kind of pandering a bit to white folks, but also secondly, which I think is more important, Charleston is one of those guys. I don't even necessarily think that Charleston is just like an Uncle Tom. I think Charleston is one of them people where he's like a snobby black, right? Where he's the one who he'll be like, stop walking on the lawn. Like he's almost like a curmudgeon when it comes to shit like that. So when he's like shaming them, he's like, y'all rent. Y'all don't even own in a community filled with homeowners. I don't think necessarily he's just talking about them because they're black. I think he looks down on them. It's like a lot of homeowners in most communities, if somebody come in the neighborhood and they start bringing the property value down, the neighbors start resenting that motherfucker. I think, and again, Charleston doesn't live there, but it appears that's also going on. But it comes off overall like he's trying to pander to whites, though. I will say.
He's gonna pay as he should. Because they got all these dumbass black people playing a race card in a racist town. And I wouldn't call them racist.
Tyrell Day.
They just don't like your kind. And
we're going to answer that question or try to answer it.
Neither do I. I hate a victim-minded black person. I hate a black person that doesn't take accountability. I hate a criminal-minded black person. I hate a nigga that let his wife do all the speaking. So I surely don't like that father. He let his bitch do all the talking, hollering and screaming with all those emotions like the black woman have. Oh, man, that's a strike against the culture.
Okay. Apparently there's also another video where he's speaking about. We're gonna get to this video. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull it up. We're going to get to this video where they actually break down what self-defense is. But before then, apparently we got another Charleston White one. Looks like he's been going off this whole time. They say he's speaking on the bond. Is it this? When was this? This was the 5th. Holy shit. How long has this situation been going on? April 5th. Oh, I think I just passed it. This
God can't bless black people because black people got a heart of retribution and vengeance and violence and anger. They want to get back at white people. No wonder Dr. Kingdom could get some things and we can't. Because Dr. Kingdom said, hey man, don't hit them back. Hey man, don't hit them back. And them people got way more. Now this group say, let's kill them. Let's kill them. But your kids, you hear about kids every day in the hood schools getting bullied, but y'all don't have this much outrage for bullying. They have a no bullying month, but y'all don't have this much but now.
You know what confuses me about Charleston when it comes to this situation? Charleston always bragged about, he said he's one of the people who enacted violence on whites and he didn't do it to people of his own community. And he was almost saying it to say most black people who do black on black crime, they're stupid because if you're claiming that the white people are oppressing y'all, why don't y'all just ride? Charleston White and his friends killed a white man back in the day. And after they killed this white man, Charleston White eventually testified against his friend that did the shooting. And his explanation later became, hey, listen, we planned the robbery, but the robbery turned to a murder, but I was the person who handed the gun to the person. Because Charleston White was a minor at that time, and because he cooperated, he was allowed to live this life. He was allowed to have some redemption. So watching him basically, claim or hope that this black dude goes to jail, and if you don't know, there is a video of him testifying against the kid. This was when Charleston was younger. Charleston White testifying. This was the white man that got killed. You see the white man right there? And this was the guy right there who was the shooter.
In the gun out the backseat of the car. 16-year-old Charleston White took the stand and testified against his friend, Antoine Doolittle, who sat just a few feet from him and listened intently. He pulled the hammer back on the gun.
And then what happened?
He fired it. Doolittle is accused of gunning down 34-year-old Michael Levy of Irving. Levy attempted to stop Doolittle, White, and two other teenagers accused of shoplifting 3 sports jackets and a baseball cap from an Arlington mall in September of 1991. Witnesses say Levy pounded on their windshield until the teens threw the jackets out the car window. Then Doolittle supposedly shot him in the back as Levy walked away. White repeated the conversation he says he had with Doolittle after the shooting.
I said, look, you shot him.
What did he do?
Started laughing.
Levy had been married only 4 days when he was shot.
But I always had my dreams of my Prince Charming. And I found him. And it's hard to believe, but I did. And I believe in fairy tales because he made my dreams come true. And they took that away.
White will be testifying against all 3 of his buddies in exchange for a maximum sentence of 12 years. A juvenile judge reduced the charge from capital murder to murder against Doolittle, so the teenager faces from 5 years to life in prison.
Okay, so Charleston was accused of a race-related crime as well, because the guy who him and his friends robbed, and subsequently killed was white. Right? So I'm wondering why his opinion is so different here.
All of a sudden, it's out, let's kill the bully. Most of y'all are bullies. Talk to him today. Most of y'all are, come on, cuz, OG, bullies. Come on, Crip, blood bullies. But now we want to kill the bully. When most of black children go to school every day and have to face a bully, why you think they got to wear Michael Jordan tennis shoes? But now we got a problem with bullies, huh? When have we ever told our kids to go kill the bully? We taught our kids how to stand up to the bully. No matter if it was 2 of them, fight both of them. But you don't put your life in danger to kill unless you got killing in you. But if you listen to kill music, you got killing in you. There's no way good kids kill. I know a nigga stabbed the girl 93 times, but before he got to 93, he dropped the knife. She begged and she pleaded. He dropped the knife. But because he was abused and he had anger and he had rage inside of him for what his daddy was doing to him.
This is a video of Charleston talking about the murder. That's a longer video.
All right, here we go. We have one of the most controversial figures on the internet. A lot of people have been asking.
He was on crack, and so my mother was trying to every Friday and Saturday call Deals and Qualities. And so we went to the Farm 303 Mall. We went to Foot Locker. Tony Dorsett, a legendary running back for the Dallas Cowboys. Tony Dorsett had a club at this mall. So when we go inside the Foot Locker, there was this black dude that looked like he could run fast. So we went and played video game. We said we'll do it later. So we come back later on that day, come back, and it was a white guy working in there. So we went in there, tried on hats, tried on jackets, and ran out. And in the process of us running out, there was a white guy by the name of Michael Levy in the parking lot working on his car. Unbeknownst to us, Mr. Levy had just got married 3 days prior to that incident. And so he saw what was happening, saw us running out, and tried to thwart us, tried to stop us from stealing those jackets. He ran, jumped on top of the car, started hitting the windshield with some tool that he was working on his car with. Glass was shattering in my friend's face. I handed him the gun and instructed him to shoot Mr. Levy. He shot Mr. Levy. We drove away laughing. I made everybody laugh, you know, being the comical guy that I am, not really having a full understanding and concept what we had just done, right? We didn't know he was dying. We didn't know he had died. Undeveloped brains. So we leave there, we abandon the car across the street from the mall, walk across the street, go over to some older teenager guy's house. They give us a ride to a dope fiend who we was going to go trick with, and that's where we got caught. I remember being arrested, man, and the police officer, because I was already been in trouble with the police before. I was out on a year.
Okay, now you talks about cooperating. That the cooperation video dropped recently.
This is what me and Gilly the Kid fell out over. How you go put street rules down on at 14, 15, 16? How? I'm not a street kid. I'm not a criminal. I'm a kid who was raised to tell the truth. When my mama come in and say, son, what happened? Mama, I didn't do that. I got a paid for lawyer. I got two lawyers, Carl Mallory and Louis Stearns. Louis Stearns became Judge Stearns, Judge Louis Stearns. But nigga, I had two paid for lawyers. Nigga, my mama is a well-to-do mama. I'm just playing, I ain't playing. I'm an adolescent going through an adolescent stage of rebelliousness.
That's one thing I'm wondering, because he seems forgiving of kids, but not in this situation.
I ain't no street. Hell yeah, I'm gonna tell on you. I've been telling since I was a little bitty boy. I've been telling all my life. Mama, Kevin did, nigga, I've been telling to, yeah, so all of a sudden I ain't gonna tell. And my mama crying saying, son, and then fuck him. I don't met them in the 8th grade. I don't know them. I didn't go to elementary. Well-to-do kids, I'm a good kid. Hell, from the jump, I say, hell yeah, I told nigga, my mama came in to who, he did it, mama. And my lawyer and them say, this is what we going with. That's how I became famous on the internet. Remember the Pop Hunter situation of how Charleston White got started. Same situation. Raised in the streets. Arrested and go to juvenile. He went down to pick my cousin up from...
Okay, all right, enough. Okay. Now, let's get back to the situation. Because, as I said, this should be just a straight up and down textbook case of, is it self-defense or not? There's a lawyer who's discussing this. He discussed it on News Nation. Mark O'Mara, self-defense, Karmelo Anthony. So let's get a little bit of details.
All right, so Anthony was being held on $1 million bond, which was crazy. Today they reduced it to $250,000, which is, still sizable, but he wound up getting out. All right, so Mark, first of all, the idea of race, I mean, you lived it with Zimmerman in a big way. There's so many people who believe that that's why Zimmerman wound up beating that case. But what do you see here? What are your questions? What will matter?
Oh, no, it's definitely a consideration. It always is, whether it's a sort of obvious what we're doing or the implicit one, because we all carry these implicit biases with us that perceive or impact how we perceive an event. Now, what's really it's going to come down to, and I disagree with the guy who said this is not a self-defense case yesterday, I think he said it. This is definitely a self-defense case, because it always is one until you look at the facts of the case and compare the two. You have to compare who was the initial aggressor. Was it an aggressive act for him to go up and say, get away from the tent? Did he do more than that? My understanding was maybe he touched him and put hands on him. Granted, that makes the decedent in this case maybe the initial aggressor. But you really still then have to look at whether or not Karmelo Anthony responded with appropriate force, he used a deadly weapon, and whether or not he was in imminent fear of great bodily injury. That's the standard in Texas and most every state, to determine whether or not his actions, the way he perceived him, the way Karmelo Anthony perceived him when he took out that knife and stabbed him. The good part is if the decedent was the aggressor initially. The bad part for Karmelo, if in fact it's true that he sort of said, touch me and you'll see, because that's that aggression, that's that predisposition towards violence. That,
by the way, and hate to cut this guy off, I'm going to back it up a little bit in a second. Pause. So I know people want to compare this to the Zimmerman case. Here's a big difference, right? The big difference with that is again, I like to use the idea of like CCWs, which is concealed carry. Any classes, if you have lawyers that are like insurance lawyers for those things, that, maybe you get in a situation where you shoot somebody or kill them. This idea of self-defense, they always say, number one, if you pull the gun out, you might as well kill them. At least in Jersey, they say you might as well kill a nigga. Reason being is that if that person could make it to court, it's going to be a long day for you. Number two, the thing with the Zimmerman case is, remember, dead man tells no tales. But because there was nobody that has a solid report of what went on, Zimmerman was allowed to go with his story. And what his story going to be? It's going to be concocted by the lawyers, curtailed to kind of match a police report, but it's going to play to the letter of the law that is textbook self-defense. Here's the problem here. If this is under a tent, there's other people that's within an earshot. They're hearing what's going on. Because the big thing is he's going to have to take the stand. He's going to have to take the stand, right? In a self-defense case, if you're not taking a stand, it's like, what are you doing? So he's going to have to explain how he felt in the moment. Because again, so the standard is, what did he think at that moment? Did he fear for his life? Now, here's a bunch of things that does also come into question. And by the way, I would imagine the defense would try their best to try to throw out things like this. Say this guy was a fighter. He used to fight niggas all the time. There's videos of him on YouTube. I'm not saying there is. But if there's videos of him on YouTube or his Twitter, which I think is still up, if he's tweeting about, I just beat this nigga's ass. If it was a guy that's used to or has been in multiple other physical fights with hands, the jury might look at it a little bit different. If that's allowed to be presented and say, well, you fought before. Why this time you felt you had to stab somebody in the chest? How is his demeanor? This is where race might come in. Sometimes the, colloquial, language that African Americans use, other people that aren't African American or people that are not of color, they view a lot of that as words of violence. I mean, shit, even a damn cop, when the black woman, what's her name? Is it Sonia Massey or something? I can't remember her full name. When she said, I rebuke you, that nigga thought he heard some crazy shit. He just started letting off. Shit. You know, black people, we talk a little bit different. Could be like, all right, nigga, let's get it cracking. So, I'm pretty sure prosecutors are gonna go down his history of social media footprint. How does he talk? Is he always talking about violence? He's always saying, yo, listen, it's on sight for niggas. Like, you know, and they're gonna try to make him seem like, oh no, this was a kid already prone for violence, and it doesn't live up to the standard that he was in fear for his life. He just wanted to catch a body.
That doesn't have a place in a true self-defense case.
What's the most important question for you in this, Mark? And then I want the same from you, Professor, if you have one. Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. Who truly was the initial aggressor? How did this unfold such that if, in fact, he had a reason to believe great bodily injury was imminent, was it reasonable? Was he pushed? Was he shoved? Was he hit? Because don't forget, it's of the moment, but you are allowed to respond to great deadly force with your own great deadly force, or at least your perception of great deadly force. So it's really going to be fact-based. I do think that race, it's going to be played out on social media. It also is going to be...
Which, by the way, obviously, like, you know, I guess in every case, but the Brick Baby and Big U case, he should say nothing, right? Because he's going to have to take the stand. If he got a girlfriend, I'm pretty sure the lawyers are telling him, don't explain nothing to your girlfriend because you might she break up with her before this trial starts, and she's now with the prosecutor saying, nah, Karmelo's been telling me for months he was about to kill one of these niggas. Like, whoa, you know what I mean? He got to keep his mouth quiet, can't say nothing, got to get ready and go get prepped to get on that stand eventually.
Be played out in a courtroom if you ever get there, because in today's day and age, I would argue that someone like Karmelo Anthony now has a heightened concern over the past few years and the way we've sort of degraded some of the progress we may have thought we made over the past decade, as far as how we're treating young black males in the system, such that maybe he would have felt more preyed upon than he otherwise would. Interesting, you're right. We're going to be talking about this for a long time.
Professor, what do you got?
Hello? Oh, I'm
Professor?
sorry.
Yeah, Professor.
This is all about who the jury is. This will all be determined by the jury. If the racial factors were reversed, if a white man had killed an unarmed black man, everybody would be on the reverse side of this. We live in a society where everything is judged by race. You know, the Bible says to judges and prosecutors, don't recognize people, just do abstract justice. We're way, way, way beyond that. If the racial elements were reversed there, virtually all the people who are calling for him to be acquitted would be calling for him to be convicted, and vice versa. Let's not kid ourselves. We live in a race-conscious society, and jury selection, which, of course, your other guest is so brilliant at and did so well in the Zimmerman case, is determine the outcome of this case, without a doubt.
For me, it's as simple as, how do they feel about this proposition? Bringing a knife to a fist fight. Right. Mark O'Mara, we'll see what happens.
Well, you see, the defense has a lot to play with, if you ask me. You know, one of the arguments I would imagine they would have, yo, they come from their family's history. I don't know. Maybe they don't come from a good neighborhood. He felt he needed to bring a knife, not for these guys, but he brought a knife for protection because he had to walk through dangerous neighborhoods to get to school. He didn't have a car to bring him back home, so he was walking alone at night, late night many times, so he had a knife for protection. I think there's ways to explain having a knife. I think on face value sounds horrible. Like, yo, why do you know, especially if he never normally brought a knife. If he never normally brought a knife and that one day brought a knife, and then he's trying to entice an argument to use that knife. Of course, but of course, no defense attorney is gonna say, yeah, that's what happened. They're gonna be like, no, comes from a bad neighborhood. Oh, it's gonna be this is gonna be a very interesting trial, if you ask me.
Alan Dershowitz, thank you very much. Hey, thanks for watching.
Okay. And I think, are those all the clips they wanted me to watch? Because I think that's the latest. He's out. I seen Aiden Ross commented on it. Let's see what Aiden says. So he donated $10,000 to the honoring Austin Metcalf help his family. And this is what he said.
Bro, I know we don't talk about politics anymore, shit like that, but that shit really pissed me off what's going on in the world right now, bro, with you know who, bro. Track me shit. Bro, I try to bite my tongue nowadays, bro. But like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. How do I not, bro? I have a platform for a reason, bro. I can say whatever the fuck I want. The fuck you mean who? He killed someone, he's out. Like, how the fuck does that work? Like, bro, he's literally like, what? like, what? What do you mean stop? I'm dead serious. He's literally, he stabbed him and he's out. Like, bro, what? Like, what? No, I'm dead. Bro, I'm dead. Bro, I'm not joking, bro. It doesn't make any sense at all. Y'all saying shut the fuck up. I'm dead serious. I don't give a fuck if people mad at me, bro. I say what I want, bro. That's what string's about. If they gonna ban me for opinion, they gotta ban all the other political streamers on Twitch too. Come on, let's be real here. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I'm just being real. Self-defense. Okay, cool. So you would feel comfortable putting your kid in a school with a kid who has a fucking knife in school? Bro, y'all are so stupid, bro. If y'all get bullied in school, tell your teachers or tell your parents. Don't fucking try to kill somebody, bro. Please don't kill anybody. Death is very bad. It's crazy I have to even speak on it.
Yeah, well, I agree with the first half of what he said. I do think if people are getting bullied, they should have options, not murdering the person. The dude getting out, there's a bail system that usually, if they got the money, why not? What are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? I have no problem with the dude getting released. It's not that he got let off the hook. He's still charged with murder. He has to face these charges at some point or another. So I particularly don't have any issue with him being released on bond. And yeah, we're just going to see what happens at trial. I think there's so many issues that are going to just come up. But I also think even hearing someone like Aiden Ross speak about this, there's a lot of biases in this shit, right? Like, we're not thinking about self-defense. Well, you wouldn't think about self-defense if you can't get past the idea that someone might bring a knife to school, right? So you won't even get to the whether it's self-defense or not. But I would imagine, I don't know where Aiden comes from. I ain't gonna lie. Like, not my high school, but shit. I live like about 15 minutes from Patterson. All them high schools in Patterson, niggas had all type of, what do you call it again? Niggas is bringing guns to school. I'm keeping it a bit. Niggas bringing guns to school. So it's like, they had metal detectors and everything. They had that shit like Fort Knox. Eastside High School, oh, they was getting it cracking in there. A stabbing is the least. Now, again, if you don't come from being at schools like that, you might be like, what the fuck? Not saying that this kid did. What I'm trying to say is that we're all coming with our own biases before hearing what the defense is going to be and what the prosecutor is going to say. I'm not sitting here co-signing this dude bringing anything to no school and stabbing nobody. I'm just saying, let's just wait and see what the hell's going to happen. Right? Wait, why I say I don't stand on business? Okay, are y'all saying that Aiden came off racist here? How? He has a POV, but not because his POV doesn't align with wanting Karmelo to be free means he's racist. Let me listen again. Did he say something racist? If he said something racist, I'll talk about it.
Bro, I know we don't talk about politics anymore, shit like that, but that shit really pissed me off what's going on in the world right now, bro, with you know who, bro. Track me shit. Bro, I try to bite my tongue nowadays, bro, but like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. How do I not, bro? I have a platform for a reason, bro. I can say whatever the fuck I want. The fuck you mean who? He killed someone, he's out. Like, how the fuck does that work? Like, bro, he's literally like, what? like, what? What do you mean stop? I'm dead serious.
That's not racist. Like, he's spitting just facts right there. The dude killed someone. Now, I disagree with, oh, why is he out? There's bail for a reason.
He stabbed him and he's out. Like, bro, what? Like, what? No, I'm dead. Bro, I'm dead. Bro, I'm not joking, bro. It doesn't make any sense at all. Y'all saying shut the fuck up. I'm dead serious. I don't give a fuck if people mad at me, bro. I say what I want, bro. That's what string's about. If they gonna ban me for opinion, they gotta ban all the other political streamers on Twitch too. Come on, let's be real here. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I'm just being real. Self-defense. Okay, cool. So you would feel comfortable putting your kid in a school with a kid who has a fucking knife in school?
And by the way, I don't think no one cognizantly makes that decision. Like certain schools, you know, I went to a really, really dope high school. And so I went to Hackensack High School. And that high school was really dope because it was like really evenly mixed. It was like 30% white people. It was 30% black people. It was like 30% Hispanics. And 10% was like Indian and Chinese niggas, okay? But it was pretty much everybody was accounted for. There was not like, oh, you felt like the extreme minority. Now, clearly, because they used to, that high school served a few towns, they bust people in from different like economic, backgrounds, and that kind of showed itself sometimes. But yeah, it was like a really cool high school. Now, granted, here's the thing. You might be going to a school where someone who lives on damn near Section 8 housing is also going to that same school who probably has beef with like people in his little project neighborhood, and maybe he's bringing a knife to school. Maybe not for you. Mr. I come from this dope ass like background where my parents could provide whatever. But yeah, shit like that happens. I'm not co-signing none of this. I'm just saying it's just got to be realistic. Like, if you send your kids to public school, anything can happen, my nigga. I mean, it can happen in private school too, but at least private school, like, it weans out a lot of people that is broke. If anything, I would say some of what Aiden says sounds slightly ignorant to the fact of the reality that maybe he never experienced going to high school. And also ignorant maybe in the idea of we've seen a lot of people who have been accused of murder bond out. I mean, Yella Beezy is accused of murder for hire. He just bonded out. So people could bond out for murders.
Bro, y'all are so stupid, bro. If y'all get bullied in school, tell your teachers.
Why y'all saying I'm like caping? I'm not caping for this Karmelo Anthony nigga. All I'm saying is I want to get to the trial. I want to hear all the witness reports. Like right now, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like 70% on the side of, it's murder. But 30% is saying, it's self-defense. None of this got to do with race. I don't look at this in terms of race. But we need to know several more details to come to this determination. Because could it be self-defense? It could. Under the statute of a law, right? Now, granted, if we're just speaking tongue in cheek here, ain't no fucking way it's self-defense. Nigga, you have a knife, they don't have a knife. Right? But under the law, that does not matter. Because if you argued like how George Zimmerman argued that he was getting punched and he felt he was about to black out, yes, your great and deadly force in retaliation to that is a gun. And the jury subsequently agreed with them, right? All right. Then this dude has gained a lot of money. Wait, why did they say $250,000? No, he didn't. He did $10,000. All right. All right.